Welcome friends. Today we are going to discuss about the OSWAP mobile security top 10 risks for the 2017 which were recently released by the OSWAP. So these are the content for the today's session. First we will discuss about the introduction, then we will go into the Android security model, iOS security model. We will also look into what an attacker can do. We will analyze the different mobile threat models. After that we will go through the OSWAP top 10 mobile app vulnerabilities, and after that we will explore top 5 vulnerability in this video and the remaining 5 in the next video. So friends, we all are using smartphones nowadays, and we know very well there are millions and millions and billions of the apps present in the different Play Store, whether it is iOS Play Store or Google's Play Store. So as the statistics show that 179 billion apps are downloaded in the 2015, and over which 60,000 apps are in the Apple Play Store. So there is a huge number of apps are present, and friends, in the apps there are so many so many vulnerabilities are here, which might be a risk from the security point of view. But many apps are not secure. They store unsecure data. They can make a leakage of your sensitive data, and you can be an easy vulnerable target for the attacker if you are using one of these apps. So 15% of the apps leak sensitive data over the network, like about your location, about your personal pictures, your messages, each and everything, because at the time of installation you give them the permission and they are just using them. And 48% of mobile application have the risk security. There are many types of risk securities are defined by the OSWAP, and the 48% are just under the neck. So first of all, when the security comes to our mind, we think only of the point of view about the viruses, malwares, etc. But wherever we must focus is malware, but the main problem is the apps leaking the sensitive and personal data. Okay, so when we are talking about the app, so these are developed by the development and they go through the software development life cycle. So as a statistics show that 33% developer, they don't test the mobile apps for the security faults. Post development just 22%, during the development 21% apps are tested, and during the production 16%, and all of the above 8%. Only 8% are tested properly. Remaining 92% apps are untested or the slightly moderated tested. So first go into the Android security model. First of all, we all knows that Android is a Linux based operating system, and which provide us a similar sandboxing as method in Java JVM. And what the Android do from the point of view of security is like OS create a unique user for the each app. Like you are using an app from the root user, and some apps you are using as a guest user or something other. Each app runs in a sandbox using its UID, it is unique ID. Security is enforced at the OS and the application level. Each app is signed, yani ki you have to the app which are not signed digitally, these are not allowed to run on your system. Especially Android 6 and 7 are quite strict about the signing of the app. Second, go to the iOS security model. So when we talk about the iOS security model, there are pin lock is necessary for the application uses, automatically wipe your data if the wrong password are too many times. This also use the signed profile, signed application. Installation of third party app can be restricted if it found suspicious to it. Encryption here is use AES 256 feature, which by which you can encrypt all of your data, though this feature is also available on the Android platform. So now we will see what are the different ways, what are the different holes by which one attacker can go into your device and target you. So this is you, innocent user, this is your device. So One attacker can access your device by the physical access, by theft, or by just gaining your access to your device for the few seconds. The second option is ADB, that is Android Debug Bridge. Attacker can act as a legitimate user on your device. By using ADB, even one can access your phone without knowing your lock, without knowing your security pin. By the server side or the wave service, one can access your device by, if you are using a network and attacker is on the network, then man in middle attack can be done on your device. Your entire data can be sniffed, your entire data can be seen by the attacker on the site. Fourth one is very well known attack, that is malware attack. Malwares can be installed on your device. This can be sent by the email or by some instant messaging app or by any other medium. The last one is, if you install an application, or it is either on internal memory or in external memory, it has some app, it has some attack file, and it's doing a passive attack. Means without your knowledge they are gaining your data, they are sniffing on your data, and you are still unaware because you think it's not malware. Someone has not tapped my phone, no debugging is going on, I am not connected to network, but your data can be analyzed by some other person if the attack file is on internal or external memory. So these are the OSWAT top 10 most common vulnerabilities: improper platform uses, insecure data storage, insecure communication, code tampering, poor authorization, poor authentication, insufficient cryptography, client code quality, reverse engineering, extraneous functionalities. So we will go through them one by one. Top 5 I am covering in this video. So what are things an attacker will probably do? What an attacker can do to get in your device? Reverse engineering. An application can be do reverse engineering to get the embedded code in it. Grabbing of your logs can be grabbed. Debugging the running app. If we debug the running app, then the content which is in the primary memory can be seen on the screen of the attacker. By using ADB we can use this. Monitor and manipulate network traffic, sniffing, proxying. Monitor process activities. If we go to the developer mode of your device, you can see there is an option like you can see what are the processes which are running. Same can be accessed by some attacker if you have given the permission directly, indirectly, with your awareness or without your awareness. Observing file access, analyze memory dump. Your whatever the content it is in your memory, like password or anything else, that can for that a dump can be taken from your device. So the first vulnerability is improper platform uses. So what is improper platform uses? Actually, whenever iOS, Android or Windows phone is developed, there are few documents which can tell about the capabilities of the platform. There are some certain guidelines for the application, for the functionality of application. But if one developer doesn't follow them, there might be a chance that there can be a risk by which someone get into your device. Violation of published guideline, violation of convention and common practices, unintentional misuse. यानी कि if an app contradict the best practices, like best practices, you should follow this convention, you should close this port, you should not allow the extra privileges to the user. There are some guidelines which are vary from platform to platform. We should follow them as a developer. We don't bother, but we should for the sake of security. So there is one mitigation measure: secure coding and configuration practice must be used on the server side to the mobile application. So basically it's about the server side application, because the authentication should be on server side, because client side can be compromised. So as a developer you should take care on your server side. The second one is insecure data storage. When we talk about the data, and it is increasing day by day, as many as apps you are using, as much as you are using your phone, as much as data you are producing each and every second. So Insecure and unnecessary client data storage, like you are logging each and every login password, you are uh, storing the date and time, you are storing each and every relevant or irrelevant details, then it might be create some trouble for you. Developer assume that app data can't be accessed by the attacker. For example, if an developer makes this key, make that to unlock all the details, all the password you entered into the your Amazon or some other app, each detail will be stored. If developer thought that these log can't be accessed by the attacker, then is in big misunderstanding, because by using so many tools which are available, we can access logs maintained by the different apps. There are two type of information: sensitive information and the private information. Sensitive information has a high level of confidentiality, like username, password, encryption keys, credit card, session identifier, token, etc. Private information is like which you don't want to share with other without your permission, like your phone number, address, email address, and even location too. But if you are given a permission to someone to access to access your information, then sorry, your information is in danger. So where can we found some this interesting cheesy data? It's in SQLite database, which is quite dangerous database. You can access each and everything in a clear text. Recently Tinder is using to store its data in the SQLite database in a clear text, where all the Tinder username chats can be accessed very easily. Log file, XML data storage, binary data storage, SD card, and the cloud. So all these are the places where the sensitive information gets stored, and one can attack on this information by using some tools. So what are the mitigation measure as a developer? If we think, a good practice is not to store any kind of credential on the storage device. Sorry, your storage device can be compromised, so don't rely on the storage device. Just store on your server side, because you can control server as a developer, but you can't control the client machine as a developer. Sensitive data information, that is user authentication credential, login encryption keys, etc., should be if it is must to keep on the client device, then use some strong encryption system, use the device keychaining method, but still follow all the guidelines which are provided on the sake of security by the manufacturer or by the OS platform provider. So there is one example for the Android. Use SD card storage Java X.crypto library to achieve the minimum security easily. So just an example, if you want to store the credential on the client side, then please follow the security measure as described is here as an example. So the third vulnerability is poor authorization. Attacker can do anonymous activity, can also allow impersonate another user, like you are like for an app you can be a legitimate user if there is poor authorization. Poor authorization means someone can hack your password by using brute forcing, by using some another method, by using phishing. Someone get your weak password, and you you don't put any pin, or don't put any password on your app, password on your phone, and even can easily enter into the device weaker password. Or we know we can't memorize a strong password, so we look toward the weak password, but that can be easily compromised, and our security get easily compromised. And so think is stolen devices. If someone phone can get lost, then whoever will get that phone, that can access all the apps which are pre-installed in the devices. So that can be a identity theft, and in this way you can impersonate the another user who was previously running that app, and you just trump the app from them. So this one is an coding example from the developer perspective. I have mentioned it here especially, that if DAO is device permanently authorized device ID. So we are permanently authorized a device, even we don't know whether this device will still longer time with the user or not. We are just assuming that this device means the only this user, but sorry, it can't possible. If one's phone get stolen, missed, and whatever would happen with the phone, device is not a device should not be a measure of the authorization. The person who are using it should be the person to be authorized to use it. So never permanently authorized any device, authorized by the person on the spot in real time for the sake of security. So what are some mitigation measures? Authorization and authentication can be controlled and reinforced mainly by the server side when possible. Always authorize data, never rely on the device authorization. Avoid completely UID, IPs, MAC address, IMEI, because IP address can be changed, MAC address can be spoofed, IMEI number can be, like if your phone gets stolen, then anyone can have the same IMEI number and impersonate that app as you are using it. Out of bound authentication, in this OOBA authentication, the two-factor authentication comes into the play, where like you have seen the two-factor authentication in your Gmail also. You have to, whenever you want to log in into the system, there will be a one another factor except password to authorize you. It can be a OTP, it can be a fingerprint, it can be iris scan, it can be any measure by which there can be a double layer of security you can implement. So there is fourth. First we had discussed improper authentication, now we are discussing improper authorization. So authentication is the act of identifying an individual. Authorization is the act of checking whether identified individual has permission to necessarily perform the act. Suppose if I give a permission to use my laptop to someone, but I didn't allow him to go into my gallery to see my pictures, so he is authenticated to use my laptop, but he is not authorized to use my gallery. So here we are talking about the improper authorization. For example, if a user can read the files from your app, but don't give a permission to write a malicious code, write a malicious file, or add a malicious file into the directory of your app. These two are closely related, because just after the authentication, authorizations come into the play. Once this person comes into your system, now strictly provide some measures so that authorization can be implemented properly. So impact, if you are failed to provide the proper authorization, then privilege escalation can be possible and unauthorized access can be possible. Suppose if a person get access to someone's mobile phone, and if you're using a banking or some other online transaction app, so there should be a two factor authentication for the proper authorization, etc. So these are some mitigation measures. Verify the roles and the permission of authenticated user using only information contained in the backend systems. Backend code should be independently verified that any incoming identifier associated with the request that come along the identifier matchup and with the incoming identity. So authorization can be done by the three factor: what you know, what you have, what you can do, something like that. So we can burden the backend for the to follow the security measures in comparison to dependent on the client side, because client side is out of our control. So this one is fifth, code tampering. Code tampering means to do the changes in the code, to changes in the coding by which you have developed the app. App execution environment is out of the control as developers, as earlier mentioned just now, exploit the code modification, that is binary patching. We all are fond of patch software, because we can't purchase software, so we just download a patch and do that. So how this patch are developed? Suppose you want to use Savan app, but you can't subscribe for the pro app, pro version of it. Then what you do, you will just download a patched binary APK file and use and enjoy it. So how this app, how this pro file, how this patched or a black app is developed just by exploiting the code, just by entering the key into the code by hard coding, and the app is free of cost available to anyone. Change the context of the memory dynamically. Games and paid apps are the best example of the code tampering. So your application should be like that, no one can tamper your code, because if your app is paid and then by the code tampering, your app can be made available to public free of cost and your business will just finish. So stay aware about that. So what are the some negative impact if you fail to follow the code tampering measures? Unauthorized new features. So if like we see in the some application, few features are limited and only for the pro user, but if someone has tampered the code, then these features are freely available to anyone who has not paid for the app. Identity theft and the fraud, revenue loss due to piracy, and the reputation damage by code tampering. If your app is so good and someone can enter into the bug into it, someone can add some the feature which are seriously embarrassing for the app, which is not related to the app, but why? Because the attacker has a source code now, he can do each and everything which he want to do. So see, these are some mitigation measures. Integrity check at the runtime. We have to check at the runtime as the app which you downloaded, which you developed, same as the app which is running on the system or not. Integrity, whether there is some modification in the code or not, there should be some measure to check this at the runtime. Android root detection, by we know some apps are available when we root our device, when we root our Android device. So if we should not allow our apps to run on a rooted device, because root give a extraneous functionality to access to your device. So we should not permit our apps to run on the Android device who are already rooted. We should detect the root device, sign your debug build. So if you are debugging your app, then you should signature it properly, so that unauthorized app and authorized app can be distinguished well. For the super user binary, for example, if you root your device, these are some directory which create in your device, like system bin su, system x bin su. If these directories are present, then we can easily detect that this Android device is rooted, and we can decide accordingly whether we should allow our app to run on it or not. Check for the well-known rooted APK. These are some APK by which we can root our device. So as a developer, here I want to mention some application security testing tools by which you can test your app after development whether there is some vulnerability holes or not. Santoku mobile security framework, MITM proxy, which is for the man in middle attack, Drowser, Frida, and Red Array. Other Android security tools are like Android Debug Bridge, by which you can yourself check that how much vulnerable your app is. Netcraft, iAnalyzer, and DevKnox Appos OS. These are some tools. Some of these are paid, some of these are free of cost available, so you can just go through them and just test your app before providing it to the public. So just go through this checklist before publishing app, because your client trusts you. So don't trust on the attackers. If you're providing an app to someone, then don't then using your app, then he trusts you that you are providing an app. Then there should be not some vulnerability points by which the third person, that is attacker, can access the user's data just because your app is poorly patched. Okay, so these are some checklists. Data flow: can you establish an audit trail for the data, what's go here, from where it go, from where it so that if your data is going through the network, so then easily you can detect where your data is storage, how much security is provided, what is encrypted or not, where are the keys are getting stored, what are the key management system. Data leakage by the log files or by the notification or by something else. Authentication: when and where user challenge to authenticate, how they are authenticate, how the ID and password are saved, how much our system is foolproof. Server side control: as I earlier mentioned also so many times, that we can't rely on the client side, so we should go on the server side for security. Points of entry: whether I can enter into the device by ADB or not, I can enter into the code by ADB or not, is there any tool by which I can hack the code, I can hack the app, I can alter the app, is there any possibility or not. So we should go through this checklist before launching our app. So as I discussed the top 5 vulnerability discussed by the OSWeb 2017, so as a security expert, developer, or even as a naive user, you can submit your comment on 2017 OSWeb top 10 vulnerability via the email till 30th June. These are the email: osweb top 10 at list.osweb.org or dev.witchers@osweb.org for the private comments. So that OSWeb can provide these guidelines, so that developer can be helped, more secure app can be reached up to your hand. So use, debug, code and find the vulnerability, recode, redebug. Thank you for watching this session. Next top 5 vulnerability by the OSWeb will be released soon by me. So write to us for any query, beingsecure99@gmail.com. For any other thing, you can also write in the comment section. Please like and share this video if you find this useful. All suggestions are welcome. Thank you. Being Secure.